Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Commander Schools, where we're gonna talk about another advanced commander tactic today, and that is gonna be this concept that I came up with totally original. Actually, this one's kind of original. It's the concept of stickiness. So before I explain what stickiness is, I'm gonna explain how I came to this idea. So, a while back, I had a Tasigur deck. It was a Reanimator Tasigur deck that I worked on with Sinestra, of course, because, it's Tasigur, so why not work with Sinestra on it, right? Anyways, so I have this Tasigur deck, and at the time I was really thinking about the idea of tempo in Commander. Again, you want to watch the tempo video, it's right up here. No, it's this way. I learned. It's only been like a year on YouTube. I learned it comes up this way. Okay, so you can watch a tempo video to know more about what I arrived to. But there was that period where I was exploring the idea of tempo Tasigur. Because we know how to play fully reactive control Tasigur, you can be a little more proactive Tasigur if you want to use them as like a sacrifice, like evolution or like, I don't know, whatever's. You can play Tasigur a little bit more proactively, but I imagine he's best played like mid-range or reactive, whatever. We're not talking about Tasigur today. Calm down, Sinestra. It's not about you all the time. The thing that I really focused on for Tasigur is a problem that a lot of Tasigur players will know is once you play Tasigur, the dream is you're gonna be the political person who's gonna have the answers for everything. You're gonna activate Tasigur all the time, and then you ask the person, give me the abrupt decay, I'll break the other guy's stuff. The Tasigur dream of being the political person is also kind of its downfall, which is your cards are gonna be most easily used in the table because you can recur it. And what this also means is that because not only are you the control player, you're the control player who can recur stuff, your opponents are going to rely on you and bully you to interact even more than normally if you're playing a control deck. That's kind of what I was thinking at the time is that Tasigur's like strength there is also a weakness, politically speaking. And this weakness exists in other blue-based or control decks too. So if you're playing a blue commander deck, oftentimes they'll rely on you to interact, and sometimes that's good, and sometimes, actually most of the time, that's kind of bad for you because you don't want to spend your cards. So here is where stickiness comes into the foray. So stickiness is the concept of how easy it is or how hard it is for you to for someone to make your cards, how sticky the interaction is in your hand. So for example, if I have a counterspell in my hand and a dispel, let's say I have two pieces of interaction and someone plays ad nauseum or something that I need to counter, and no one else is playing blue, my cards aren't very sticky because I'm most likely gonna have to use my interaction there and spend my interaction very quickly. So if we're able to draw a lot of cards and have all the interaction, what if there is a way we can make it harder for our opponents for us to use that interaction, right? So that's the idea of stickiness, is making sure that the cards are sticky in our hands and not, what's unsticky? Loose? I don't know. Don't be loose. So your question must be like, hey Rebel AI, that's a great lot of spaghetti, a lot of word spaghetti, but what does this actually impact the gameplay? Well, so to address stickiness, I do play a lot of things, and as usual, I rely on Wild Pile over here to express these concepts. And a while back, I think Counterbalance was a card that not a lot of people liked, and still actually a lot of people don't kind of like Counterbalance. I think Counterbalance now is getting a little bit more trendier, but I do really like Counterbalance from the concept of stickiness, because if I have a Counterbalance in play and then I have a counterspell in hand, I have one layer of interaction there that keeps my counterspell or interaction just more sticky in my hand, because they have to first go through that check of Counterbalance. So playing permanents definitely helps with making sure my cards are stickier, and then also finding ways to interact the board with essentially without using the cards in my hand, and ideally not using mana too, but we can't ask for too much. So other examples of permanents I like that help keep my cards sticky is stuff like Ovenmold Tracker or Umajawa's Jite. So both of those things do a very similar effect, which is answering creatures on the board. And why does this matter? Well, if we have these things, then that means if someone plays a problematic creature, we don't need to use our counterspell on it, or we don't even need to use our Swords to Plowshares or our creature interaction yet, which is very, very important because not only are we saving the cards in our hands and not being pushed to use them when we don't want to, it gives us more flexibility and freedom in what we want to do, right? So most likely be very difficult for them to ever push me into using that swords, which means that I can hold on to that swords to whenever I really, really, really need to use it, which, you know, it means that card's sticky in my hand, and having sticky cards, having sticky cards is just very powerful. And then sometimes I find in Wild Pile, when I have a Jite online and also a counterbalance, and then I'm playing a reactive deck or control deck that way that draws a lot of cards and my hand is full of interaction, it becomes increasingly difficult for my opponents to actually beat my interaction, because now I never have to really worry about running out of interaction, because there's 2 layers there they have to go through first. They have to go through the counterbalance, then they have to go through the onboard removal, and then finally, if both of those checks clear, then I can go through potentially my interaction in my hand. So if I also have a way to draw cards like a Thrasios or Ristic Study, it's just all of those things combined with the concept of my interaction being very sticky, eventually just becomes too much for my opponent, and then they'll lose to the beats. So that's kind of how that works, and that's what I want to talk about today for stickiness. So that's it. That's the whole video. This one was more of a ramble, but I hope that was somewhat clear to you, and I'll give you some ideas on special tactics and how you brew your deck. So when it comes to playing interaction and stuff like that, just consider that not everything has to be instant speed, and you can rely on permanence more, because actually once you have permanence in play that can activate multiple times a game, that's just generally going to be much better use of your mana than having a one-off piece of interaction in a multiplayer format. Okay. Thanks for watching. Stay sticky.